When you think of a romance book, you probably think of this, but you might also think of this. And these are very different, to say the least. So how did we get from here to here? I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole on the history of romance book covers, and I'm going to drag you with me. Now, romance books have been around for literally forever, and we don't have time to unpack all of that, so I'm going to focus on the last 100 years or so. Starting with the 1920s, which popularized the subgenre Gothic romance. This blends elements of the horror genre and the romance genre together to create thrilling and dramatic novels, often featuring female protagonists struggling through a bunch of different ordeals and battling to be with their true loves. The cover, however, wasn't really a big factor until around the 1940s, when cheap mass-market paperbacks became really popular after World War II. The 1950s and 60s saw a bit of a shift towards narratives involving exotic locations and heroines who had careers outside of the expected roles of housewife or mother. The content and covers of this era were being directly influenced by a shift in society, mainly at this point second wave feminism. Women fought discrimination and inequality in the workplace, particularly at this time, leading to the Equal Pay Act and the Civil Rights Act in the early 60s. Through the 1970s, a style called chocolate box pretty dominated, favoring longing gazes rather than overt lust. In the 1980s is when the romance genre really exploded in popularity, bringing with the addition of a bunch of new categories of romance, as well as more contemporary characters. A few groundbreaking clinch covers in this era heralded the shift into the Baroque. So this is a clinch cover, the pose in which a typically handsome, often shirtless, hero holds the heroine in his arms on the cover of a romance novel. This led to a cult of popularity surrounding male models on the cover of romances, such as Fabio, who you may have heard of.
Rip off your shirt!
At Fabio's peak as a model, he was featured on 16 covers per day and ended up on a total of 466. His flowing hair, strong jaw, and massive hairless chest came to represent an ideal of masculinity in this era. He even wrote a few romances himself. Another trend that took off in the 1990s were covers featuring just torsos. Generally a shapely woman in a bodice, two bodies pressed together, ripped abs. Of course. These types of covers gave the reader freedom to imagine whoever they wanted in these scenarios. Harlequin, which was a division of HarperCollins, became the first publishing house to produce romance novels targeted specifically at women. Over the years, they became known for their specific type of cover, which usually featured lovers caught in illicit embraces and otherwise dreamy images. Other publishers at this point also began producing romance books with steamy covers in an attempt to boost sales, which it did. And this brings us to today, where modern romance covers are opting for graphic illustrations in an attempt to outrun the sexist stigma that has surrounded the genre since the beginning and repackage these books for a new audience. This evolution reflects changes within the genre and a broader attitude towards it as well. Graphic illustrations reign supreme in contemporary romance, with flat, iconic designs that tend to convey cute. Graphic artwork on a romance cover used to indicate chick lit, which was generally a very cute, lighthearted, not steamy and not angsty genre of romance. But now graphic illustrations are dominating not just chick lit, but also contemporary romance as a whole. For example, we can check out the 9 most popular romance novels according to Goodreads in 2022. Now, romance has long been a genre written primarily by and for women, so naturally it's not taken quite as seriously because sexism. According to the Romance Writers of America, 82% of the billion-dollar industry's readers are women, changing the look of the book as an imperfect solution to the larger problem of societal judgment of female desire. Sexist attitudes have often meant that romance is dismissed solely because it's seen as a women's genre. People are really uncomfortable with female desire. It's not normalized the way the male gaze and male desire is, and it's certainly not something that should be discussed openly or publicly. This discomfort often leads people to feel like they need to tear it down or say something derogatory about it to be cool and quirky and not like other girls. It's part of a broader societal problem about valuing women's voices and the things that they enjoy. Romance books often explore women's desire specifically, which is uncommon in most other types of media. We also do have to acknowledge how changes in the genre are being reflected in modern cover arts. These covers are more complex and indicate a broader version of what romance is. They're complicated. These books aren't just about the romance. Colleen Reinhardt, who is the associate art director at Penguin Random House and also the designer of the Roommates cover, said that a cover's job is to make someone pick up the book and want to figure out what it's about. The challenge for designers is to communicate the conventions of romance while also standing out from the rest of the bookshelf. Hence the trend towards bright colors and plot-related illustrations that convey details without customers even having to read the description of the book. Leaning towards an aesthetic that's more lukewarm than sizzling is one way that contemporary illustration has converted people to the genre, capturing modern readers by removing the embarrassment of being seen reading something that's obviously steamy. The recent wave of romance novels disguise erotic content behind eye-catching, hand-illustrated, and often very Instagrammable book covers. Close to half the respondents of a 2014 survey of romance readers said they dislike traditional romance covers, like the clinch cover, finding them cheesy and embarrassing, and only 13% said they had never hidden a novel they were reading. Illustrations often make the book feel more respectable to people that aren't traditional fans of the genre. I think the packaging is helping people who normally wouldn't pick up a romance novel pick one up. People want to be seen a certain way. We're careful of how we're perceived, particularly in public spaces, including social media. I think that's the biggest public space everyone's in at this point, and what we read is a big part of that. Illustrations also allow for much broader representation than stock imagery, as it is only limited by the imagination and not by historical privilege. Early romance novels generally featured heterosexual white female protagonists, either defying social conventions or overcoming personal struggles in the pursuit of their own happiness. The heroines of these novels eventually found the loves of their lives and ended these novels secure and happy. There wasn't much diversity featured in these novels, and therefore there was no demand for diverse cover art. Now the range of illustrated covers has made it so that queer romance novels, for example, can have much more interesting and maybe more accurate covers, because up until very recently, many books used stock photography as their cover art. My feet are asleep. This is a big reason why romance fans don't claim Fabio as a symbol of the genre. He represents a bygone era. A straight, white, conventionally attractive man as the face of the genre where marginalized writers have had to fight to have their work recognized. As popular as the quote, "Don't judge a book by its cover" is, that's exactly what we do. Book covers are the first thing we see, and we can almost instantly decide if we want to pick up a book or not based on them. I tend to only read the descriptions of a book once the cover's already caught my eye. This class of books, which follows people trying to find equitable partnership in the modern world, are closer to rom-coms than romances, and they need covers that say so. These lighthearted, steamy stories of dating across racial, cultural, and ability lines are bringing new romance readers to the genre. We're getting books into major entertainment and women's magazines that hadn't come calling since 2013 or 2014 with the popularity of 50 Shades of Grey. 50 Shades also spurred a significant trend in recent romance book cover aesthetics, which is the object, the single object. After E.L. James's escapade into S&M became a global phenomenon, and fastest selling paperback of all time, by the way, romance shelves were dominated by books with grayscale backgrounds and a single object, like a mask or a rose, playfully insinuating the book's salacious contents. Portions of these books' appeal probably came from the mysterious covers. If it just has a cover with an innocuous image, no one's gonna know that you're reading a very, very sexy book. For their strong heroines, their sense of humor, and their sex appeal, these rom-coms have a broad appeal. But would they be as inviting to non-romance readers if they were sold in chunky, mass-market format with images of a man clutching a woman? Seemingly, the book's wide-range success is inherently tied to the covers. The books contain tantalizing components of the romance novel, but are sheathed in contemporary art that make for embarrassment-free and harassment-proof public reading experiences, with more opportunity for a much more diverse audience to see themselves represented on book covers. So this was just a little deep dive I did into a topic that I found interesting. Let me know if you found it interesting and if you'd like to see more videos like this. I know it's a little bit different. If you did enjoy, you can subscribe down below for new book videos every single week, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!